What are you doing here at this hour? Officer Travis Cole barked, his voice breaking the evening silence, sounding sharp and suspicious. Arthur Bennett slowly raised his head and squinted, looking toward the source of the shout. His tired but kind eyes looked at the approaching police officer with a friendly expression. He was a little stunned to see the police officer rushing toward him with a hostile expression on his face. "Good evening, officer. How can I help you?" "I'm just tending to my roses," Arthur replied calmly, though he felt an unpleasant tension building inside him, and wiped his hands on his worn trousers. Travis grinned, stopping a few steps away from Arthur and looking him up and down, lingering on his dark skin and simple, worn clothes. "You don't look like someone who lives here," Travis said with a crooked smile. "What are you doing here, old man? Snuck in while the owners were out? Looking to steal something?" Racial slurs hung in the air. Arthur's expression darkened and his jaw muscles twitched. He had been living in this house in Maplewood Heights for several months with his grandson, and although he did not flaunt his wealth like his neighbors, he had every right to be on this land. "I'm not a thief. This is the home of my grandson, Christopher Bennett, and I live here with him," Arthur replied in an even, firm voice. "Your grandson, Christopher Bennett?" Travis repeated mockingly, raising an eyebrow. "Here? In Maplewood Heights?" "Yeah, right?" He took another step forward, every word dripping with arrogance. "Where are your papers? Show me some proof, old man. Or are you just another bum who got lucky today?" Arthur, standing firmly on the lawn in front of the house without a wallet or ID, his eyes fixed on the officer, replied. "I don't owe you anything. I haven't broken the law," he said in a sharper tone. "Give me the exact legal reason why you stopped me." Arthur's calm, firm voice and his sharp challenge only angered Officer Travis Cole even more. He was a man who hated being questioned, especially by someone he already looked down on. "I don't believe you," Travis shouted, red with anger. His hand instinctively tightened around the handle of his gun, his fingers trembling with restrained aggression. "You're resisting. You're hiding something." Arthur, still holding the small garden shears, instinctively took a cautious step back as Travis moved toward him. He raised his hand slightly, more for protection than anything else, a natural reaction to the officer's sudden hostility. But Travis, blinded by prejudice and tension, interpreted this simple movement as an act of defiance or even a threat. "Don't move. Drop your weapon," he barked in a sharp, authoritative voice, even though it was obvious that Arthur was unarmed and posed no real danger. Arthur froze, his face reflecting his confusion as he tried to comprehend the absurdity of the situation. He opened his mouth to explain that he was unarmed and had no weapon, but Travis didn't give him the chance. In a moment of madness, driven by fear and hatred, Officer Travis Cole pulled his Glock pistol from its holster, ready to turn a peaceful situation into something much more sinister. A single shot rang out. Sharp and dry, it shattered the silence of Maplewood Heights. The bullet hit Arthur Bennett in the chest. His eyes widened in horror and disbelief. He staggered back a few steps, then collapsed onto the soft green lawn next to the scarlet rose bushes he had so carefully tended. Blood began to ooze from the wound in his chest, staining his faded plaid shirt. Officer Travis Cole froze in place, staring at the lifeless body of the old man and the smoking gun still clenched in his hand. What had he done? Panic gripped his mind. He looked around frantically and noticed several open windows in neighboring houses, with dark figures peering out. Shots rang out. "My God. Gunshots. Someone's been shot. Call the police." Travis trembled at the sound of the voices. He had to act fast. In a hurry, he shoved the gun into its holster, fumbled for his radio, and stammered. "Dispatcher, this is the 54th Squad. There were shots fired at the address you gave me. The suspect was acting aggressively. I had to defend myself. I need an ambulance and backup, immediately." He began to make up a story to cover up his terrible deed, but the truth could not be hidden forever. The fatal shot not only took the life of an innocent man, but also caused a legal and political earthquake that shook the entire city, because the victim was not just an old black man, but Arthur Bennett, the grandfather of Christopher Bennett of the Federal Bureau of Investigation. Police and ambulance sirens quickly broke the silence of Maplewood Heights. Within minutes, the small street in front of Christopher Bennett's house was cordoned off with yellow tape, and a large contingent of Maplewood police arrived on the scene. Red and blue lights flashed in the darkening sky, creating a chaotic and gloomy atmosphere. Paramedics rushed to Arthur Bennett, who was lying motionless on the grass. After a few minutes of urgent examination, they shook their heads sadly. He had died at the scene from a gunshot wound to the chest, the bullet fatally damaging his heart and lungs. His body was temporarily covered with a white sheet while waiting for the coroner to arrive. The crime scene was carefully cordoned off by the police, preventing anyone from approaching. Detective Henry Collins, a seasoned veteran of the Maplewood Police Department's Homicide Division, was assigned to conduct the initial investigation. He quickly and methodically set to work. He ordered detailed photographs of the crime scene to be taken from various angles, marked the spot where the shell casing had fallen near where Travis Cole had been standing, seized Cole's service weapon for ballistic analysis, and took initial statements from witnesses. Officer Travis Cole, who shot the elderly man, was immediately removed from the scene and placed in a holding cell in another patrol car in accordance with standard police procedure for the use of deadly force. When Detective Collins approached him to take his initial statement, Cole appeared shaken but was adamant in his account of events. "I was on patrol and saw him acting suspiciously in the yard," he said in a trembling voice, speaking quickly. "I approached him and asked for his ID. He became hostile and reached for his pocket as if he was going to pull out a weapon. I saw something shiny, feared for my life, and was forced to shoot in self-defense, Detective. I had no choice." He tried to present the situation in a more favorable light, but Detective Henry Collins quickly noticed the panic and inconsistencies in his testimony. Meanwhile, other officers went around the neighborhood, interviewing witnesses who had seen the incident or heard the shot. Their statements were almost unanimous. They heard the officer shouting loudly before the shot, and several people saw Arthur Bennett, who was simply tending to his roses and posed no threat. One neighbor firmly stated that Arthur was holding only a small pair of pruning shears, which could hardly be mistaken for a weapon. These statements directly contradicted Officer Cole's self-defense version. More importantly, the recording from Cole's camera was immediately seized and sealed as important evidence. Detective Collins knew that this recording would be the key to uncovering the truth. He instructed the technical team to extract and analyze the video recording as a matter of priority. The next step was to formally identify the victim and notify his next of kin. Detectives were sent to the large house to search for documents belonging to the elderly man. In the guest bedroom on the first floor, they found a worn leather wallet containing an old driver's license, a social security card, and several family photos. The name on the documents was clear: Arthur Bennett, 74 years old. In a phone book lying nearby, they also found the contact information for his grandson, Christopher Bennett, as well as the address and number of his office. One detail immediately caught Detective Collins' attention. Next to Christopher's name was the address of the Federal Bureau of Investigation. Collins frowned. The Federal Bureau of Investigation? Just a coincidence? Without wasting any time, he dialed the number. After a few rings, a deep, professional voice answered. "Federal Bureau of Investigation, Bennett speaking. How can I help you, Detective Collins?" The detective's stomach tightened. "Bennett?" He glanced again at the name on the badge. Arthur Bennett. The same last name. It couldn't be. He forced himself to remain calm and cleared his throat. "Good afternoon. Am I speaking with Christopher Bennett?" he asked cautiously. "Yes, this is Christopher Bennett. What's the matter, Detective?" Bennett's voice remained professional, but there was tension in it. Detective Collins took a deep breath, carefully choosing his words. This was the most difficult call of his career. "Mr. Bennett, this is Detective Henry Collins from the Maplewood Police Department. I'm afraid I have some very sad news to tell you." He hesitated. "A few minutes ago, there was a shooting at your home in Maplewood Heights." "My home?" Christopher's voice rose sharply with sudden alarm. "Is anyone hurt?" "My grandfather. Was he at home?" Detective Collins swallowed hard. "The victim's name is Arthur Bennett, sir," he said, clenching his teeth. "He didn't survive. I'm very sorry." For several long moments, there was silence on the line. A terrible, oppressive silence, heavier and louder than any scream. FBI agent Henry Collins listened and heard heavy, rapid breathing on the other end of the line, followed by Christopher Bennett's voice, full of pain and shock, a barely audible whisper, but somehow maintaining remarkable composure. "My grandfather. Arthur Bennett." He repeated the words as if trying to confirm the terrible reality that had just hit him. What the hell happened?" "Agent, who did this?" Agent Collins felt a cold shiver run down his spine. He knew that this was no longer just another investigation. It had become a major federal case involving a close relative of one of the most powerful officials in the state. "Sir, this is an active federal investigation involving one of the Maplewood police officers, Officer Travis Cole." Before Collins could finish, Christopher interrupted him sharply, his voice hard and icy, tense with anger. "Cole? Travis Cole? I'm on my way." The call ended. After receiving Agent Collins' report, FBI leadership realized the seriousness of the situation. The Department of Justice, the FBI, the media, and the public, the pressure would be enormous. Officer Travis Cole, who had fired the fatal shot, had already been detained and placed under strict supervision. When he learned the true identity of the victim, his arrogance gave way to sheer fear as he realized the trouble he was in. The federal government acted without delay. The U.S. Department of Justice officially ordered the FBI to take full control of the investigation, citing clear evidence of federal civil rights violations. That same evening, an elite team from the FBI's Civil Rights Division arrived in Maplewood, led by Special Agent Sarah Jenkins. They took control of the crime scene, collected all evidence from the local police, and began working independently. Although they allowed some coordination with local officers, it was clear that the FBI was in complete control. One of the first and most important tasks was to analyze the footage from Officer Travis Cole's camera. In the FBI's state-of-the-art lab in Quantico, analysts worked around the clock, carefully reviewing every second of the footage. What they discovered was irrefutable and left no room for doubt. The footage showed that Cole deliberately stopped his car, approached Arthur Bennett, who was peacefully working in his garden, and without any provocation began a hostile confrontation. The audio recording clearly captures Cole's aggressive and disrespectful tone from the outset. "What are you doing here? Where's your ID?" As well as racist slurs and derogatory remarks such as, "You don't belong here," and "You look suspicious." Despite these provocations, Arthur Bennett remained calm and respectful. He politely answered all questions, explaining that he lived there with his grandson, and asked for the legal reason for being stopped. There were no threats or provocations from Arthur. Cameras recorded that when Arthur calmly asked Cole about his authority, the police officer began shouting and making demands for no reason. Then came the decisive moment. Cole barked, "Drop your weapon," even though Arthur was clearly unarmed and only making a defensive gesture. Without hesitation, Travis Cole pulled out his gun and fired once at Arthur Bennett's chest from close range. The shot was so unexpected and unprovoked that it showed a total loss of control and maybe even intent. The police camera footage was undeniable proof, exposing the lies in Cole's statement and showing the harsh reality of racial bias and abuse of power. In addition, the FBI re-interviewed all witnesses from the neighborhood, and their testimony once again confirmed what was clearly visible in the police officer's body camera footage. All agreed that Arthur Bennett was a gentle, quiet man who never caused any trouble and was simply tending to his garden at the time of the shooting. They also unanimously stated that they heard Officer Travis Cole shouting loudly before the shot was fired. A detailed autopsy conducted by a federal medical examiner confirmed that Arthur died from a single gunshot wound to the chest at close range, which caused catastrophic damage to vital organs. No weapon was found on his body. A small pair of garden shears was found nearby on the ground, a tool that could in no way be mistaken for a deadly weapon. The FBI also launched a thorough investigation into Officer Travis Cole's background and work history. It emerged that although Cole had never been subject to official disciplinary action, he had been the subject of numerous complaints from members of the public, mainly from the Black community and other minorities, about his rudeness, discriminatory behavior, and excessive use of force during minor incidents. Many of these complaints were dismissed or quietly closed by the Maplewood Police Department, indicating a disturbing pattern of behavior and serious internal control deficiencies. While the federal investigation continued in an urgent and active mode, FBI Special Agent Christopher Bennett, mourning the loss of his grandfather, struggled to find a balance between his personal grief and his professional duties. Due to an apparent conflict of interest, he was unable to take a direct role in the investigation. Thanks to his position and influence, Christopher closely monitored every stage of the process. He held confidential conversations with the Attorney General and FBI Special Agent Sarah Jenkins, ensuring that all necessary resources were allocated and that the case was handled with complete transparency and determination. He appeared in public only once, at a brief press conference held a few days after the shooting. He expressed his faith in the legal system to which he had dedicated his life and called for a full, fair, and uncompromising investigation into the events that led to the death of Arthur Bennett. He emphasized that this tragedy was not only a personal loss but also a painful reminder of the ongoing problems of police brutality and racial injustice that continue to plague American society. Meanwhile, Travis Cole, faced with irrefutable evidence gathered by experienced FBI agents, completely broke down. His initial attempts to defend himself collapsed under the weight of the truth, and he was unable to maintain his fabrications. Under immense pressure, Cole either panicked, attempted to shift the blame to circumstances, or accused the victim of provocation, but none of this could change the irrefutable facts. The truth about his reckless violence, racial prejudice, and abuse of power was fully and publicly exposed. The FBI gathered enough evidence to bring the most serious criminal charges against him. After a thorough federal investigation that led to irrefutable evidence that Travis Cole's actions were motivated by racial hatred and had no criminal justification, the U.S. Attorney's Office took a historic and decisive step. It has formally charged former Officer Travis Cole with the most serious federal charges and announced its intention to seek the maximum punishment available under the law. The decision to seek the maximum punishment reflects the extreme gravity of the case and the outrage of the public. To ensure fairness and prevent any conflict of interest, the case has been assigned to Special Federal Prosecutor Amanda Holloway. Holloway, an experienced attorney known for her professionalism in civil rights cases, has been given full authority to develop the prosecution strategy. The official charges against Travis Cole included the most serious federal charges: deprivation of civil rights resulting in death, use of a deadly weapon in the commission of a violent crime, and third-degree murder under state law. The trial attracted national attention. Journalists, civil rights activists, and citizens filled the courtroom. Christopher Bennett, although not part of the prosecution, sat quietly in the front row, symbolizing dignity and grief. Led by Amanda Holloway, the prosecution presented irrefutable evidence: body camera footage showing Cole's aggressive behavior and the unjustified shots fired, witness testimony confirming Arthur Bennett's peaceful behavior, and forensic evidence refuting any claims of self-defense. The defense tried to argue that Cole was acting under stress and fear, but under intense questioning and irrefutable video evidence, his story fell apart. In her closing argument, Holloway urged the jury to deliver a just verdict, not only for Arthur Bennett, but for the dignity of all citizens. After several days of deliberation, the jury returned a unanimous guilty verdict on all counts. The courtroom fell silent. Travis Cole stood pale and trembling. Christopher Bennett closed his eyes, feeling the weight of long-awaited justice. At the sentencing stage, after considering all the aggravating and mitigating circumstances, the jury rejected the death penalty and recommended life imprisonment without the possibility of parole. In delivering the final sentence, the federal judge solemnly addressed Cole. For the egregious violation of civil rights and the senseless murder of an innocent man, the United States District Court sentences you to life imprisonment without the possibility of parole, to be served at ADX Florence. The judge paused, his voice heavy. You will spend the rest of your life in the most harsh and secure federal prison in America, a place built for the most dangerous and isolated prisoners, where the walls themselves are designed to break the spirit of a man. Travis Cole slumped into a chair, stunned. He was immediately handcuffed and led out of the courtroom. ADX Florence, known as the Alcatraz of the Rocky Mountains, became his new home, a place of endless concrete, steel doors, 23 hours of solitary confinement, and silence so oppressive that it drives people to the brink of insanity. The case sparked a nationwide debate, reigniting discussions about police accountability, racial bias, and civil rights. For Christopher Bennett and his community, it was a painful but necessary reminder that no one is above the law. Christopher Bennett later addressed the nation, expressing grief but also hope that justice would not end here and that systemic reforms would be strengthened by the blood that had been shed. The case of Travis Cole has become a landmark for law schools and police academies, a grim reminder of what unchecked power and racial prejudice can destroy. The tragic events in Maplewood will forever remain in the city's memory, a scar and a warning to future generations.